I was rooming with the same camp pastor that I was rooming with this year. And a couple other guys, one of whom I substitute taught for and had not realized it at a time. He was a good kid in class. But that first year, it was the four of us. And I can remember I brought a couple card games. One of them was There's a Moose in the House, and the other one was One Night Ultimate Werewolf. So we played them. I can remember there was a mouse in the cabin. That cabin was notorious for mice. I can remember my friend Josh looking around for it, and then he thought he saw it go behind the window curtains, so he sneaks up on the window curtains and then charges at him and throws them open and says, "Squeak, squeak, mother flipper!" Yeah, that was a good memory. Then, of course, I had them helping me in the actual shack itself. I can remember there was a very convenient looking place where we could put stuff, and so I just said, okay, put the Dr. Pepper in there. And so I did. Then the camp pastor, our roommate, came over and he said, "I'd like a Dr. Pepper, please." And so I were like, okay. Handed him one, and he opens it, and it sprays all over him. Then he looks inside, and it's icy. He was like, "What did you boys do to this?" And I was like, "Nothing. Must have got cold. Where'd you put it?" "In that." And he looked at it. "That's a deep freeze." Uh-oh. So, yeah. That was the first year. Then the second year, I don't even remember much about the second year. I can remember, that was when I started teasing people about, they would want something for, a cabin leader who wasn't willing to come over, and so I'd be like, "Oh, really? And what does this imaginary cabin leader look like?" And one of the kids just got real mad at me. It was like, "It's for my grandma, and her full name is this. Now just give me the candy." Okay, kid. But, yeah. And then I cannot for the life of me remember if it was the third year or the fourth year. But I can remember that week was, well, I'll just tell you, my fourth year at camp was hands down the worst, and it is not even close. So if it was going to happen, it probably would have happened the fourth year. But I can remember the last day, it was me and the camp caretaker rooming with each other, and I set an alarm on my watch. Watch alarms are absolutely horrible. Do not use them if you're trying to wake up because they're quiet. And so then, I think it was the second to last morning, I wake up and my dad is opening the door, full apron attire and whatnot, and he was like, "The girls have my cousin. She and I share a cousin, so I just call her cousin. But she was director of Girls Week the whole time I've been out there, and she was like, "Yeah, girls, why are we screaming? It's just angels throwing bowling balls." And then turns out one of the power lines, a tree fell on it. So we had no power for the rest of the time. And then we had to have a shipment of food in, and it was just a giant mess. And so thankfully we have a few gas ovens there, and so the girls were able to eat breakfast because they were able to have like little, sausage and cheese biscuits and sausage, egg and cheese biscuits that they were able to cook in the oven, so that was nice. And we had to accept a giant shipment of food for Youth Week, and then we had to call around churches and be like, "Hey, can you take our food and hold it for a couple days until we get the power back on?" And so Tosi Mega Church, they actually have little freezer space for as huge as their church is. So we were able to store a little bit over there, and then a church down the road that's not a sister church, but it's a church, ended up storing some in there. And then one of the cabin leaders says, "Oh, hey, I'm part owner of the grocery store. Why don't you store it there?" Man, you couldn't have told us this earlier. So then, either the next day or the day after, we get word that the power's back on, the power line's been fixed, the tree's been removed. And then pretty much everyone I knew was busy, except for the one guy with the trailer, who's one of the coolest people I know. He's a retired pastor, retired military chaplain. Has the personality of it too, but I called around. Even my mom and dad were busy, and so it was just me and Pastor Bill, former Pastor Bill, and he had his trailer, and we ran around to all the places, loaded it up on a trailer, just me and him. And he was in his 70s, so far into his 70s that I don't think he's in his 70s anymore. And so he was doing his best to be a trooper, but he had to sit down and take some breaks. And so I just loaded all of it into the fridge and freezer and pantry. No, not the pantry, but loaded it all up into the fridge and freezer all by myself. And I hated it, but it was awesome to be able to see that I did it. Kind of like what I imagined bungee jumping would be like. And there were like 185 youth coming. So it was a lot of food year. And this year, there were a few girls who were hanging out by the picnic tables by my shack, and one of the electric fly swatters that I had was in my hand, and I was going to go swat some flies right by the trash can, and so I think 3 of them ran over. Hey, what is that? It's a fly swatter. It's an electric one. And so they ran over. Ooh, I want to do it, I want to do it, I want to do it. Okay, here you go. Be very, very careful with that. And so 2 of them ended up actually swatting and getting several flies, which was nice. And yeah, I got to tell one of them, yeah, I'm not going to be back next year. And she was like, oh, well, good luck on your future career. That'll rip your heart right out. But every year they also do crafts. So like one group will sign up for cooking, one group will sign up for drama, one group will sign up for crafts. And there's always an exhibition. I wasn't able to make the exhibition this year because I'm on my way to buy a bunch of candy because I ran out of almost everything. Candy and soda pop. But I know in years past I've been pretty impressed with their drumming skills, with their building birdhouses, painting rocks. I used to have newspaper that I liked reading, but they stopped doing that because it took too much paper. But it's always a fun time. Then this year, my distant cousin, who's in charge of the whole thing, asked kids to guess how many years she'd been doing it. This is her 19th year. 3 people guessed. One of them got a prize. And the camp pastor, who's known her for forever, so it was, all in good fun. He wrote 195 years. Yeah. No. But next year will be her 20th year, and I'm sad I get to miss it, but life goes on. So yeah. Enjoy the moments while they come. Take a lot of mental snapshots. No, I drove away with a whole bunch of the campers still there. as camps I can. So, I'll keep you posted on the next weeks. I'll continue my vlog. If nothing else, it's so that I can have something to look back on. But yeah, no more asking kids if they want whipped cream on their pizza or on their French fries or whatever. Although several of them did want whipped cream on their hot dogs today. So, I'm vegan. I can't whip cream or hot dog, either one. But, doesn't sound bad. Then, of course, there was the one girl who wanted to put it on herself, and I was like, absolutely not. But, well, can I touch one of the containers? And I was like, here, you can have this container. And she was like, oh, cool. It was an empty container. But, gonna miss it. Anyways, if you can help out around kids, assuming that there's no felony saying you can't, more on that next week, then I suggest you do it. Because